Bonjour.
Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today to talk about one of my most hated tanks at tier 10, aka the VK72.01K, the tier 10 German super heavy tank. There are several things that make me dislike this tank, but we're gonna talk about that later during this game and also this video, so let's just jump straight into the characteristics, starting with the gun. It's pretty similar to the one you have on the E100. You have 4.8 seconds of aiming time, which is quite long, a good gun dispersion for a tank that big is only 0.33, which is really good. The DPM is only 2.4k damage, so not the best out of all the tier 10 heavies, but you don't care because what you need to understand is that with this tank you have a huge alpha damage of 640, and that's what really matters when you're playing with this tank. Of course, it comes with a price, 15.7 seconds of reload, and for the penetration you shouldn't struggle, 258 with the regular, 334 with your heat shells. And concerning the gun depression, it's fine, it's the same as the VK72.01K, you need to put your gun on your side to increase your gun depression, etc. Now for the turret, you're a big German heavy tank, therefore your turn rate sucks, especially on the turret, only 21.5 degrees per second, which is quite slow. Same for the mobility, you are really not gonna go fast, around 30 kilometers per hour when you're fully equipped, but not that much. And finally, the turn traverse rate of the tracks, which sucks as well. Definitely not a tank made to go fast, let's be fair. Now, concerning my equipments on this tank, I first go for the Gunrama because your penetration is enough, you don't need calibrated shell or anything like that. After I go for the enhanced gun lane drive to decrease the aim speed after the tank has moved, and therefore it will allow me to aim faster. And finally, I go for the refined gun because most of the time with this tank you are not gonna shoot while moving, so the vertical stabilizer is not something useful. After, I go for the defense system because I'm not gonna ram anybody, I'm way too slow. After I go for the enhanced armor, that's one of the rare tanks on which I use this equipment because you're gonna see the armor profile is quite strong even if it's filled with weak spots. After I go for the toolbox in order to increase my repair speed because enhanced track is worthless. After I go for the improved optics to increase a little bit my view range because I don't need to use a camo net, I'm not gonna camp, literally with this tank you need to be first line. After I go for the engine accelerator to increase a little bit my mobility, which sucks overall. And finally the consumable delivery system to reduce the cooldown speed of the consumable because with adrenaline 30% duration of consumables will not be useful as you have a way too big reload time. Here we are gonna start talking about the real problems this tank has. As you can see, it seems quite armored if you take a look like this. You have 275 here, which is a huge plate. You have 420mm at the front, which makes it nearly impenetrable for everything in this game. You have this little plate here that is a little bit less angled than the previous one, but overall it's really armored. Or at least it looks like it's armored. Because the main problem of this tank is not its hull itself, it's the turret side. This is your nightmare. This is horrible. I hate that tank for it. Let me explain. You have the turret at the back of the tank. Therefore, with this tank, your main purpose is to side scrape. But what happens when you side scrape? Let me show you. Here you see you're side scraping, right? So if you're side scraping like that, it makes it even harder to penetrate the upper part of the hull and the hull in general. But this is gonna be your nightmare. This and this also. Look at this. It becomes really easy to penetrate your tank when you are side scraping. So every time you're using your tank in the right position, you are gonna get completely fucked, which means this tank is not suitable for the only purpose it has in the game. And that's why I don't like this tank. Every time you side scrape, you're gonna get wrecked. Of course, there are other techniques. For example, if you come around the corner and you just poke with you just poke around with your hull and you should be able to bounce them, you know. But fuck, that's not a really funny thing to do with this tank. If you want to do it correctly, all you gotta do is side scraping, and every time you're gonna side scrape, you are gonna get wrecked because of those weak spots nearby the turret, which makes it horrible to play. Now, concerning the playstyle, there are two things you need to understand with this tank. The first one is, as you have a big ass armor and you're a super heavy German tank, you have to play frontline. You are here to take shots for your team, so please, I see way too many VK72 camping at the spawn or camping in the back. You are not supposed to do that with this tank. With this tank, you go into the battlefield and you do your goddamn job. Now, the second thing is you have a rear side or rear mounted turret if you prefer, which makes this tank a good one to side scrape with, as long as every time you're done shooting, you go back to your position as soon as possible to avoid your weak spot being shown for too long. Because the main difference between a bad game with the VK72 in side scrape and a good game with the VK72 in side scrape is your ability to just snap shots and go back to a position where you don't show those weak spots, or at least you angle them to the point they became not a weak spot anymore. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to play aggressively. Of course, I was waiting for my team to circle to see if there were tank destroyers, because as you can see, our main forces are focused on getting into their spawn, and I see that there is nothing. So I say to myself, okay, now as there is nobody spotted, it means that they're all in the town. If they're all in the town, that's my job right now. I need to get into the game. So here I go. I sneak the first shot on the Yak E100. Am I gonna be able to sneak another one? It seems like they don't really want to focus on me. We have the T62A that just rushes into the battlefield for no reasons. For the moment, I'm focusing on the Yak before pushing further, because that's the only tank I'm fearing right now. But as he's nearly a one-shot, I'm thinking to myself, okay, he really doesn't care about me, so I can probably go into the game and do my things. So here I go, trying to push a little bit. There is an E50N, there is also an I7. I'm on the middle of the field, but hey, you're a super heavy tank and you are here to get those shots done. But I see that there is a T57 heavy, and just out of greediness I thought, okay, you know what, let's try an HE into his ass, and look at this, top damage with HE, 1.2k damage, boom, nice one, thank you RNG. Now, for the rest of the game, as you can see, we have the I7 here, there is the Yak Penta E100 in the bush, and the 50M camping behind the rock. So, 3 tanks coming from 3 different angles. In these kind of situations, the best way for you to get it out is probably trying to push one of them before the others manage to notice where you are. And that's why I'm trying here to get on the E50M. I'm waiting for him. I'm trying to make myself a juicy target. Even if I take a shot, I don't care. He tries his luck one time, but ended up being a bounce. I just want to make him believe that he can penetrate. I angle against the I7 because he was about to shoot, and now that the E50M poked out, it allowed me to sneak a shot. As I told you, 0.33 of gun dispersion will allow you to put some great snapshots most of the time. Of course, not all the time, but most of the time. Now we kill the E50M, we have the T22 medium with us, and now that's where the fun begins. We angle against the Yak Panther E100, which allowed us to bounce because he tried to penetrate us into the side armor. With this tank, your armor is really strong as long as people don't try to shoot at your weak spots. And that's why a lot of people like the VK, whereas I hate it. Look, here the Yak tried to shoot at my weak spot. The only reason that Yak Panther didn't destroy me by now is that the guy doesn't know how to play or doesn't know how to aim. But I can guarantee you that if I was the one playing the Yak Penta, my VK would have been a cheese by now, a cheese easy to penetrate. Look at this guy, he's trying to penetrate me straight into my hull. You can't penetrate the hull of the VK, even with gold shells. Don't try it. The only way for you to penetrate this tank is to either have it on the side, and yes, here you can penetrate the hull, or you try to sneak shots on the side of the turret. If it's not the side of the turret or the little the whole turret, there is no way for you to penetrate it, which allowed us to bounce a couple of shots during this game. But trust me, most of your games will not look like this in the VK. At the end of the game, we sneaked a first shot on the FV. We did not manage to kill him, but who cares? We did 3 kills. We ended up doing an ace tanker with 6.2k damage. That's pretty much how you want to play your VK. Always be frontal. When you try to angle, always make sure after your shot to move, so it makes it easier for you and harder for your enemies to shoot at your weak spots. And finally, If you want to poke around the corner, put your hull first, only the top part, because it's so angled nobody will penetrate. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.